Hello everyone, welcome to English Talk Room where we help you learn English in a practical way. Today's episode is The Art of Forming Habits. I'm your host Anamika. With me, my co-host is Vinit.
Hello, everyone. So, today we are really thrilled to have you here as we dive deep into the world of habits. So, we are going to talk about how to form habits, how to remain consistent with habits, and why these habits are so important for our personal and professional growth.
Absolutely. We'll be breaking it down into different segments, sharing some eye-opening insights. So, what are we waiting for? Let's start with the basic question, Vinit. How do we form new habits?
Oh, that's a very interesting question, actually, to begin with. How do we form new habits? Now, I always say, actually, there is a kind of a process or a pattern that we should follow when it comes to forming new habits.
Okay.
And this pattern is called habit loop.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this habit loop has got three components in it, and they're very, very important. So, the first component is cue, the second component is routine, and the third component is reward.
Okay.
Okay.
So cue, routine, and reward. These are the three main components.
Absolutely. I'll just explain you what is cue.
Yes.
So, cue is anything that triggers that habit. Now, cue can be an emotion, an event, or even sometimes the time of the day. So, for example, there are people actually, when they are stressed, they start doing something. You know what? They start biting their nails.
Yeah, I could relate to it.
Yeah. So this happens actually, and this is cue. But what happens is, like, if you begin with it, then it's not a problem. But when it gets into your routine, that every time you do that, and you are doing it consciously initially, but then it goes into your subconscious. So when you are repeating it again and again, so there are people actually when they are stressed, they snack a lot.
Yes,
They eat a lot of junk food and all that.
exactly.
So that is what? That is routine. But the third is really deadly. So for good and bad habits both, reward.
Yes.
So reward is what your mind thinks about it, how your mind feels actually when you do this again and again.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like your mind thinks that yes, it's getting some kind of pleasure out of it. So when it gets some kind of pleasure out of it, so that means it's getting some reward.
Reward. Okay.
And that it is out of your control. It is on automated mode. Yeah. So I always say three things, remember. First is cue, routine.
And reward. So through this pattern of cue, routine, and reward, only bad habits can be formed, or can good habits also be formed?
Well, very interesting. And the funny thing is actually, your mind doesn't know whether the habit is good or bad.
Okay.
It only follows that pattern. So it's up to you actually whether you want to form good habit or bad habit. Yes, all said and done, there's one thing. Your mind generally follows the cue or finds the cue which is negative quite fast.
Yes.
So your negative habits actually they build up very, very fast. So what you need to do, you need to take control of your mind. So you actually decide the cue. So when you decide the cue, yes, this is the cue. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
You want to develop a new habit of reading books.
Yes.
So suppose you want to do it. So what would you do? You put a book by the bedside. That is the cue. Now the second, so that means cue means trigger. So every time you see the book, you would love to read it.
Read that.
Okay, and when you are going to bed.
Yeah.
The second, routine. So make sure that you read 4 or 5 pages every day.
For a beginner, it could be 1 or 2 pages also.
Yeah, doesn't matter actually. But it has to be a routine.
Yeah.
Okay. The third and very important thing is that the third one is the reward, that you should feel that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, I could
That-
do that.
Yeah, I could do that. And you should even reward yourself actually. So that means it gets to your subconscious mind. And now that habit would be built.
Well, that makes so much sense. So it's all about creating a system because our brain recognizes patterns. Tell me one thing, why is it so that some habits stick while others don't?
So that's $1 million question. I always say actually it boils down to three key elements once again. One is the repetition. The second is the emotional connect.
Okay.
And third very important thing is identity. Now, suppose we are doing this podcast and we do an activity just once in a while. We do it again, and then we have a break. So that means there is no repetition. So first of all, you have to fix a repetition, and that has to be at a fixed interval, after a fixed interval. Suppose we are doing it now, so we fix it. Every week we'll have one podcast.
Yeah.
So that is repetition. The second is emotional connect. So when we do an activity, actually it should align with our purpose.
Right.
Now, for example, this activity actually aligns with it. That gives it identity. And emotional connect is what? Emotional connect is that we are so much into it already that we love this, doing this.
Yes.
There's no burden on us.
No.
And in turn, we also emotionally connect with our viewers there. So there are three elements. The first one was repetition. Second is emotional connect. And third is identity. That means aligning with your overall purpose or goal.
Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah, but there's always one problem, that is consistency. Like our learners, generally they complain about it. They really start very strong, but then they lose momentum. And then I tell them to do something. But tell me how to remain consistent with our habits.
Well, the golden rule, make it easy and enjoyable. If something feels like a chore, drop it faster than a hot potato. Start small, because tiny things, when you are doing something on a small scale, it builds momentum. I'll give you an example. You want to start exercising, start just for 5 minutes. Don't start for longer period of time. Once you become habitual of it, extend the time. Another crucial factor is environment design. How many of you set an alarm in the morning to get up early and you keep snoozing it? The cue is there, but your brain does not recognize it.
Absolutely. That happened with our younger daughter, right? Remember that? So what she would do, it actually, she would keep setting alarms and after alarms, and she would keep snoozing. The whole house, everybody in the family would wake up but her.
Yes, it was so funny. If you really want to wake up early, keep your mobile and alarm clock across the room so that you have to get out of the bed to snooze it. If you do it, you are surely going to get rid of your habit of, passing on things and just
Not being consistent.
Yes.
Yeah, I think environment design, that plays a very important role. So most of the things we do just because they are very easily accessible.
Yeah.
Now, suppose you are on dieting and your fridge is filled with all the junk food. So how can you diet?
Yeah. Yes.
So I think this what even James Clear, he talked about this actually, and he also talked about one more thing.
Yeah.
That is identity based habits.
Yes.
In his wonderful book Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
And he said, like, you need to give yourself an identity to build that habit. So
Yeah.
don't say I want to read. Say
I'm a reader. Yes. Yeah.
and don't say like I want to exercise. Say I'm stronger. I feel stronger. That is identity based habits.
Yes.
They stick like a glue. I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. You used to give one more example of a marathon.
Yeah. So I'll give you one more actually. So I read it perhaps there in Atomic Habits.
Yes,
Also, we
yes.
discussed the other day on that.
Yeah.
And that side actually, there was this guy who wanted to run marathon. Okay. And you know what he would do is, he bought shoes, a tracksuit, and on the first day he did not go out.
Okay.
Just he tied his shoelaces and then put on his tracksuit and just had a round of the house.
Okay.
The next day actually he went out and jogged a little, the walk, and then he started running.
He started gradually scaling.
Yes. But the first thing he did was, he did not say, I want to run, I want to jog. He said, I am a marathon
runner. Yeah.
You ask any marathon runner,
Yeah.
and he definitely would say that you start feeling that, give yourself that
Identity. Well, that's incredible. So start small, stay consistent, and gradually level up. Can you tell us something more about this atomic habits?
Oh, yes. I think James Clear, in his through his book Atomic Habits, he changed the way we think about habits.
Okay.
For me, the best takeaways, of course, was that 1% improvement rule.
Oh, 1% improvement.
So he said that if you be better just by 1% every day,
Okay.
after 365 days, how much you would be better by?
No idea.
37 times.
Great. 37 times.
37 times you would be better. Otherwise, if you say 1%, so that means 365%, that means almost 3.6 times. No. It's 37 times. This rule actually really had some impact. So what happens is, like, if you're doing something, you won't get the result immediately. Suppose I want to read a book and I start reading 3-4 pages every day. After 5, 6 days, maybe they start feeling how it is changing me. You don't feel that change, but over the time, actually, you'll feel the change. If you do this activity for 1 year, you would have read dozens of books.
Yeah.
And that would have an impact on your personality. So the important thing is start small, remain consistent, and then level up. As you said.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. James Clear also talks about 4 laws of behavior change in his book.
Yeah, that's monumental. He said there are 4 things actually need to do. And if you do all these 4 steps, then definitely you will develop that habit. The first thing is make it obvious. So making your cue obvious is like keeping a visual reminder. You want to read a book, keep it there by your bedside. So if you do that, the chances are your brain will, every time you look at it,
Yeah.
your brain will trigger an action.
Yes.
The second is make it attractive.
Okay.
You want to exercise, that's fine. You go to gym, you run there. So maybe then you can have your earbuds on and music on and enjoy that. You're making the whole activity attractive.
Yes.
The third thing, again very important, is make it easy. Don't try to overload yourself. Like making it easy means that suppose you want to run, you want to start running from tomorrow. So you can lay your tracksuit or shoes just the night before.
Yeah.
You're making it easy for you to start, in fact. Okay, do that. And the last one, that's again very, very important, make it satisfying. Make it satisfying means rewarding yourself. So every time you do something, feel that mental accomplishment.
Yeah.
You're giving a signal to your subconscious mind by doing that.
Yes.
That you love the activity and your mind would support that. So I would always say that follow these 4 tips actually if you want to develop a habit.
I think associating a habit with routine activity also helps. Start reading newspaper with your morning tea and you start developing the habit of reading newspaper.
Yeah.
And when do you develop that, you might also know.
And that's called habit stacking.
Yes.
So what you do is you want to develop a new habit. There's always an old habit. So like old habit can also be a routine. For example, you brush your teeth. Okay. So you can start reading or maybe listening to an audiobook.
Yeah.
Okay. While you are brushing your teeth or when you're driving or as you said that reading newspaper. You know what? I don't know. I've been reading newspaper now for donkey's years. But I don't remember actually when I developed this habit.
Yes.
Today, if my morning tea is there, my newspaper has to be there. If it is not there, I'll pick any book, start reading it.
Yes.
That's so powerful.
True that. We had talked about forming good habits, but what about breaking the old ones? Why is it so hard to break the old bad habits?
Yeah, they are actually hard to break because that habit loop is already completed. The repetition is there. The time has passed. You get some kind of instant gratification through that old habit. That's why they are difficult to break. Now, the key is whatever habit loop that we talked about, you reverse it. So for me, it is like reverse engineering. So I told you 4 things.
Yeah, 4 things you told us. That is, make it obvious.
Yeah. So now the first one was make it obvious.
Yeah.
So what you do is you want to break a old bad habit, make it invisible.
Okay.
So that means you don't want to take the junk food you have been taking it. So make it invisible. That should not be at your home.
Okay. Not even in the fridge. Not in the kitchen.
Yes, nowhere, not there in your house. So it is difficult actually, and that's the second one.
Yeah.
Make it difficult.
Yeah.
So how do you make it difficult? That it is not easily accessible. It is not visible. That is the cue. Then it is not accessible also.
Right.
You're getting a point.
Right.
The third thing, like for example, when I say you make it difficult, there are people actually who do it. They remove their
Junk food and all.
that also actually the apps, social media app from their mobile.
Okay. Okay.
Because when it is not there, how do you watch it?
Yes.
Yeah, how do you check that? So that's very, very important. You remove that. Okay. You are binge watching Netflix for that matter. Just about Netflix. So easy. So you have to reverse that.
Yeah, it is easier said than done.
You need to do that. Then I said, make it attractive. Now make it unattractive.
Okay.
Make it repulsive. How? Think about the downside of it.
Okay.
When you binge watch Netflix,
Yeah.
you are really spending say around 2 hours, 1 hour.
It's killing your precious time.
Absolutely. So you think about that. And lastly, make it unsatisfying. So have an accountability partner who will always tell you, are you doing that or are you not doing that? So what are the negative effects of that?
Yes.
So if you do just the opposite of habit loop, I call it reverse habit loop.
Yeah.
You want to break the old habits.
So true. So you be my accountability partner for avoiding junk food.
And you be my accountability partner for exercising every day.
Yes, that's why they say birds of a feather flock together. So, jokes apart, give us some practical tips to our viewers to form really very good habits.
Okay. I'm going to give you 5 tips that everybody should follow if you really want to develop some new habit. So, the first thing you need to do, you need to start small. That's the first tip. So, don't try to say that I'll finish this book this week. So, just say I'll read 4 pages every day. And by the end of the month, you would finish that book. Maybe.
Yeah.
The second thing is we talked about the habit stacking. So, always the habit that you want to develop, just associate it with an old habit or maybe with your routine
Yes.
and you'll be doing wonderfully well. And then third, very important thing is track progress. You need to track progress, how you're doing it. Maybe that you download an app where you can do that. Maybe you follow a calendar or simply on a notebook, just write day 1, day 2, day 3, up to day 21. This is what you have to do actually up to day 21 to form a habit, to form that second step, which is repetition routine.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so try to do that. So always track your progress. Very important word. Reward yourself. You know, people, I sometimes feel people undersell themselves. They undervalue themselves.
Yes.
I said, why don't you reward yourself? Okay, maybe pamper yourself with a chocolate.
How
Hey, if you complete a task, so you can do that. Last, but far from the least, you need to find an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Like you are going to be an accountability partner of mine for certain things. And the reason for that is because your accountability partner will always tell you what is right and what is wrong. And that's a very important measure to have.
Yes, yes, yes. So, my dear viewers, I hope you are going to take some wonderful tips from our podcast today. If you really enjoyed our discussion, do subscribe our channel and yes, don't forget to like and share the video.
And also, if you want to change some habit, actually, you want to form some new habit or want to break old habit, write it in the comment section. So we become your accountability partner because you're now declaring it. So write old habit and then write your old habit you want to break and then new habit, the new habit that you want to form. We would love to answer each one of your comments. Please do write in the comment section and yes, share it because you're not sharing a video. You're sharing something that may be life-changing moment for that particular person. And don't forget to be there on our next podcast. So till then, stay inspired and form some wonderful habits and be here every week. Bye-bye. Take care.